Hi guys! Welcome back to my channel. Malapit na naman ang pasukan kaya siguro marami nang naghahanap sa inyo ng mga tutorial videos for kahit anong subject. Ngayon, the long wait is over dahil sagot ko na ang inyong Mathematics 9 tutorial videos. Ready na ba kayo? Okay, let's start.
I have you.
At bago tayo magsimula, sana please do subscribe, like, share, and hit the notification button para naman lagi kayong updated sa mga math tutorials na i-upload natin. And for our first video, we are going to talk about the introduction for quadratic equations. As a form of review, we have here quadratic expressions. A quadratic expression is hereby defined as an expression that consists of algebraic terms, operation symbols like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, or even brackets. And quadratic expression has no equal sign. A general form of a quadratic expression in one variable is given by ax squared plus bx plus c, where x is any variable, a, b, and c are constants. They are real numbers, but a must not be equal to 0. Ayan, so kung makikita natin, ang sabi po, ang quadratic expression daw has a general form of ax squared plus bx plus c, where a, b, and c are the numerical coefficients for the terms we have on the first and the second term. Reviewing the parts of an algebraic expression, we must be able to recall that ax squared at the beginning of our expression is what we call the leading term. Leading term, usually, nasa unahan siya ng expression or ng equation, and it carries the highest degree of all the terms doon sa given na expression. In our case, a quadratic expression is an expression in the second degree. So, hahanapin nyo lang po yung term na merong power of 2, and that will be our leading term. Sa general form, lagi siyang nasa unahan. Now, we have bx as our second term, and c as the last term. Wala na siyang x, so kung mapapansin nyo, this is what we call the constant. Quadratic expressions can be expressed in different forms. Diba ang sabi kanina, by definition, a could not be equal to 0, but the rest of the numerical parts can be any real number. So, pwede siya maging positive or negative. Pwede ring maging 0 ang b and c. But restricted to only a negative and positive numbers ang ating a. Of course, pwede rin sila maging fractions or decimal. Let's take a look on these examples. For case number 1, let's try to have b equal to 0. So, magiging ax squared plus c lang siya. For case number 2, gawin nating 0 yung c and yung b ay may number na or may value na. So, ax squared plus bx. Lastly, pwede rin natin i-represent ang quadratic expression as ax squared only. Then, syempre, of course, we have yung usual form niya na ax squared plus bx plus c. For example, we can have on the first variation ay 3x squared plus 7. That is an example of a quadratic expression. Second, pag bx naman yung meron, then nawawala si c. So, we can have as x squared minus 8x. Bakit po minus 8x? We recall that subtraction is just the inverse of addition. So, when we say x squared minus 8x, we just add negative 8x to x squared. Ax squared. Let's have 1/2 x squared. That is already an example of a quadratic expression. Lastly, the complete set of the general form ax squared plus bx plus c we can have it as x squared minus 6x plus 9. Ayan po ang mga iba't ibang variations and examples po ng quadratic expressions. Kuha? On the other side of the story, we have here the quadratic equations. Quadratic equations are equations in the second degree that holds the same condition with the quadratic expressions. It's such that these equations now contains equal sign and 0. It is equated to 0. Now, the general form of our quadratic equation is in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Ayan. So, ang pinakang changes na nangyari lang po from quadratic expressions to quadratic equation is the part that we have to equate this expression to 0 in such way it will become an equation. From the word itself, equations, it must be equated to another value. Likewise, quadratic equations can have the same variation or forms of the equation just like the quadratic expression. So it can be in the form of number 1, ax squared plus c equals 0. For number 2, it can be ax squared plus bx equals 0. For number 3, it could be ax squared equals 0. And lastly, we can have the original form of the quadratic equation, which is ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. Setting this up into examples, we can generally use the previous examples, then just add equals 0, diba? Dito, sa number 1, we have ax squared plus c equals 0. So, we get our example, 3x squared plus 7 equals 0 mo lang siya. Ayun na yung example. For number 2, we have ax squared plus bx equals 0. Then, we just have to equate x squared minus 8x to 0 para maging equation na siya. Then, we have x squared minus 8x equals 0, then quadratic equation na siya. Next, kung ang example natin kanina ay 1/2 x squared, we could use it as 1/2 x squared equals 0 for it to become a quadratic equation. And lastly, we have x squared minus 6x plus 9 equals 0 as an example of a quadratic equation. Okay na? O diba, ang dali lang. So for your learning task, I want you to create and set up your examples for each of the following variation of the equation. You can also have your reflection notebook para doon yung ilalagay yung mga learnings nyo. Ano ba yung natutunan ko sa lesson na to? Natuto ba kayo? Nadalian ba kayo? Or nag-enjoy ba kayo? If yes, please like the video and subscribe and share nyo na rin. Salamat!